Happy Easter, everybody. I got a few hours before I gotta go make Easter dinner here. So I've been working on making up some feet for some test stands, basically. So we have something to stand this radiator up on to, when we start filling it up to leak check it and whatnot. I don't want to have it just teetering on the bottom because this isn't flat. It doesn't sit nice and flat on the bottom. And this way we can actually put our drain valve or a plug, whatever we decide to do, in place, and it'll clear with these legs. Nothing fancy, just some scrap I had around, drilled a couple holes in it. I can get it to start. Leftovers from the road bands on my 612, actually, the offcuts of the ends. So that's why they're not quite straight anymore. They're just kind of bent up, scrappy pieces, so figured they'd be pretty good for this. There, something like that. Now we'll have a nice sturdy base to stand up. Pretty simple, should do the job. Top and bottom tanks are prepped and ready. So I moved on to hardware. This afternoon I chased all of the nuts and bolts. As expected, these are the lousy bolts, so I replaced them. I happen to have some on hand with the same square-headed bolts, so we're good there. New lock washers, of course. And we had that one nut that was, the bolt was broke off inside of it, right? So I figured, I'll just go grab another heavy hex nut. That should be no big thing. I get it out here, and I look at them, and it's like, let's see if I can, they're different. It's a different size. So I was like, what's going on here? Should be a 9/16 nut, right? Nope. These original ones, they are not 9/16. Well, what did I use? A 5/8? No, that's sloppy too. I mean, I think that's what I actually used to take them apart. But on further investigation, that ain't right either. So I dug through my specialty oddball wrenches, and I got a 1932nd wrench, which is size between 9/16 and 5/8. Sure enough, that's what they are. So that's kind of strange. So all the more reason that I took and I drilled out that one that had the broken off bolt in it to save it. So they all match now. Kind of an odd thing. I'm not sure why that's the case, but we should be good on hardware now. Gaskets are next, I guess. Then we can start putting things together for testing. So I went to the parts book to see what kind of information I could find on the gaskets. They don't give thickness. Of course, it's the only thing I really need to know is the thickness, and they don't give that. They give the overall size, but I can figure that much out. This is what was on there. It's actually 2 layers of thin gasket material for top and bottom. For testing purposes, I think I'll just use some of this stuff. One, because that's what I have on hand that's actually big enough. And 2, the tanks fit pretty decently to the top of and bottom of the core. So all we really need is a little layer of something to seal that tank to that header and base plate of the core. So I'm hoping this will be fine. If we really have problems with it, I can switch to something else after testing purposes, final assembly. Maybe go with something just a little bit thicker, a little bit softer, maybe like a real thin cork. I don't know. But like I said, this is what I have on hand right now. I think that's what I'll use. What's the worst that could happen, right? It's going to leak. Gasket making party is over. We got a couple of gaskets made. I think we're actually ready to put this thing together if we want to. Cool. Yeah, it's going on 11 o'clock. I think it's time to call it a day. Got it all together though. Taking bets. How many leaks is it going to have? My money's on a lot. What do you think? Do 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 do. Do 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 do. We got the adapter kit hooked up here. Since it's just barely spring here in North Dakota, it's like a balmy 45 degrees at the moment. Obviously we still got snow banks. It's supposed to get pretty warm today though. I think it's supposed to get up in the 60s actually, which is crazy. It's only the beginning of April. I mean, it can't be that nice yet. Well, anyway, I rigged up the hose to the supply line for my washer machine in the basement so I can have warm water instead of just the normal hose bib cold water, because it's cold out here yet. I want to flush it with warm water too. So I got the drain on the bottom open. I'm just going to flush it for a while here first, and then we'll cap it and see if it holds water, see how many leaks we got. Well, good news, bad news type of situation. It's full. I got water right up to the top here. The core itself, as far as I can tell, seems to be dry. You know, the dingy spots I was expecting to leak. Knock on wood, I don't see any moisture there. The only spots it is leaking, which is quite a few, is between the header and the top and bottom tanks. Basically the gasket's not sealing up. I need a thicker, cushier gasket, and I had a pretty good suspicion it was going to do that, just because we're not dealing with perfect flat surfaces, so that normal thin gasket paper just isn't quite enough. So we got, you know, there's a leak here, there's a leak here, there's one up here, down here, but considering, pretty good. Like I said, the core, as far as I can tell right now, the core is good, which is awesome. That's what I was hoping to find. So I think what we'll do is we'll see if I can hunt up some better gasket material, and we'll try this again, take it apart, put some cushier gasket material in there, put it all back together, and flush it and test it some more. And if we're confident that that's good, I think we'll call it a win. Okay, attempt number 2. I got some 1/8 inch rubberized cork gasket material this time. Cut out some nice gaskets. If this works, I'll actually use these for the final assembly then too. I cleaned up everything. I cleaned up the surfaces of these side plates this time too to make things go together a little bit easier. Let's do what we did, put it all back together and test it again. Okay, all back together with the 1/8 inch cork rubber gasket material. I'm feeling a lot more confident about this. Knock on wood. I think it's going to hold water this time. My only actual concern this time around is maybe I overcompensated. Maybe I should have went with like a 1/16 thick cork gasket material instead of an 1/8, because my concern now is that as that gasket compresses over time, are these bolts going to start getting loose, specifically because you can't tighten these ones without taking the side off. These you can all snug up, but these ones here you can't, as we talked about before. So I don't know, hopefully that's not an issue, but at the very least we'll be able to test and make sure everything is good and holds water. We can always swap out gaskets, you know, that's not the end of the world if we need to change. Hopefully it's not a third time's the charm situation, but I'm going to wrestle this back outside and we'll fill her up. Oh, it sure is nice to be outside and hear the birds chirping. Okay, everybody got their fingers crossed? Here goes nothing. Well, not great news. The good part of the situation is our gaskets sealed all of our leaks on our top and bottom tanks. Those are all dry now. The bad news is some other leaks have now shown themselves. The easy one is I got a little pinhole here in my welds. Not surprising since I'm not a welder, that could be fixed. There's other leaks. As far as I can tell, the whole top end is good. There's no, whole top is dry. Nothing up there. But on the bottom here, somewhere within the core, on the bottom here, there's a leak. Somewhere in here, there's at least one, maybe a couple small weeps. And a little bit higher up on, if I had to guess, like maybe this end tube here in the corner, there's a leak. Enough where it's a pretty consistent drip. Because we're going downhill, they're all working their way out this way, but I can tell that's where they're coming from. And if I had to speculate, I would guess they're maybe on this side of the core, or the middle to back, let's say, because it seems drier on the front, but I can't exactly see where they're leaking from. So that's the frustrating point. I'm not sure what my next move is, to be honest with you. We're kind of at the point of our the extent of my radiator fixing abilities, let's say. That's it. From here on out, we're going to have to start learning soldering and fixing abilities if we're going to continue to try to save this core. So that's kind of unfortunate. Yeah. What now? Okay, oh wise internet world. What's my next step here? I'm feeling kind of defeated. I don't know what to do next. How do I go about testing this and figuring out where my leaks are coming from exactly? And then how do I go about fixing it? And with all due respect, I don't want to hear the, oh, put a little bit of leak stop in the radiator, it'll be fine. At least not yet. I want to try to fix this properly first. To me, leak stop is a last resort type of a thing. Not that we haven't done it, haven't used it, but I want to go about this the right way. So yeah, leave me a comment below or point me in the right direction or something here, because I'm not sure what to do. My mind is going towards somehow rigging up a tank and a very small amount of air pressure in the, to make up a cap where I can put a few pounds of pressure in there, and either a tank that can submerge this in water and look for bubbles, or spray soapy water on it and look for bubbles, or I guess that's, my mind is just trying to, that's where it's going, to how to pinpoint the leaks, because obviously doing this, you can't tell exactly where the leak is coming from. And like, these maybe, but these down the corners you can't hardly even see. Even if you could look, you can't see. So I'd have to pull off these side braces, which I could do that, I suppose, and I could come up with some more straps here just to seal everything up for testing purposes. But then, yeah, then what? Air pressure, bubbles, water tank, I don't know. Let me comment. Let me know. How do I fix this? Well, I guess I shouldn't be super surprised that it leaks. I mean, we all knew it was going to leak, right? But I just feel defeated. I guess it's time to go back to the drawing board and start researching radiator repair, soldering and whatnot. Let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions, I'm definitely all ears. I might just have to walk away from this one for a while and go work on something else while I figure out what to do. But we will continue working on this 1525 Allis, and we will get it done. Thanks for coming and joining me at Swanson's Garage. See you next week.